Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31. Narada instructs the Prachetas, text number 17. Yadanavas Yabrat Tama Prakasha Bhavanti Bhupana Bhavantya Kru Yanu Kramat Evam Para Brahmani Shaktaya Swami Rajastama Satvamiti Pravaha Yathanavas Yabra Tamak Prakasha Bhavanti Bhupana Bhavantya Kru Yanu Kramat Evam Para Brahmani Shaktayas Tvayumu Rajastama Satvamiti Pravaha Rajastama Satvamiti Pravaha Dhanavasyabra Tamak Prakasha Bhavanti Bhupana Bhavanti Anukramat Evam Pare Brahmani Saktaya Swamu Rajasamak Satvamiti Pravaha Prakasha Bhavanti Evam Rajastama Satvamiti Pravaha Dhanavasyabra Tamak Prakasha Bhavanti Bhupana Bhavanti Anukramat Evam Pare Brahmani Saktaya Swamu Rajastamak Satvamiti Pravaha Yatha as Tabasi in the sky, Abra clouds, Tamaha darkness, Prakashaha and illumination, Bhavanti exist, Bhupa, O kings, Na Bhavanti do not appear, Anukramat consecutively, Evam thus, Pare supreme, Brahmani in the absolute, Shaktaya energies, two then, Amu those, Raja passion, Tamaha darkness, Sattvam goodness, Iti thus, Pravaha emanation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami I SB Prabhupada. My dear kings, sometimes in the sky there are clouds, sometimes there is darkness, and sometimes there is illumination. The appearance of all these take place consecutively. Similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the modes of passion and darkness and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Sometimes they appear and sometimes they disappear. Please repeat. My dear kings, sometimes in the sky there are clouds. Well, let's try that again. Sometimes in the sky there are clouds. Sometimes there is darkness. And sometimes there is illumination. The appearance of all these take place consecutively. Similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the modes of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energy. Sometimes they appear, and sometimes they disappear. Purport: darkness, illumination, and clouds sometimes appear and sometimes disappear. But even when they have disappeared, the potency is still there, always existing. In the sky, sometimes we see clouds, sometimes rainfall, and sometimes snow. Sometimes we see night, sometimes day, sometimes illumination, and sometimes darkness. All these exist due to the sun, but the sun is unaffected by all these changes. Similarly, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of the total cosmic manifestation, he is unaffected by material existence. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:4. Bhumirapadalo vayu kamano buddha evacha ahankariti ame vina prakriti ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise by separated material energies. Although the material or physical elements of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are separate. The Supreme Personality of God is therefore not affected by material conditions. Vedanta Sutra confirms Yad Janma Taha, the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of this cosmic manifestation are due to the existence of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, the Lord is unaffected by all these changes, material elements. This is indicated by the word pravaha, emanation. The sun always shines brilliantly, is not affected by clouds or darkness. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present in his spiritual energy, not affected by the material emanation. Brahma Samhita confirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarna Karanam. Krishna is known as Govinda. This is Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He's the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Although he is the supreme cause, the cause of all causes, he is still Parama, transcendental. And his form is Satchitananda, eternal, blissful, spiritual bliss. Krishna is the shelter of everything, and this is the verdict of all scripture. Krishna is the remote cause. Material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that understanding Prakriti or nature to be the cause of everything is like understanding the nipples on the neck of a goat to be the cause of milk. Material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. The original cause is Narayana, Krishna. Sometimes people think that the cause of an earthen pot is the earth. We see a potter's wheel. We see on a potter's wheel a sufficient amount of earth to produce many pots. Although unintelligent men will say that the earth, the wheel, is the cause of the pot, those who are actually advanced will find The original cause is the potter, who supplies the earth and moves the wheel. Till nature may be helping factor, the creation of this cosmic manifestation, but is not the ultimate cause. Bhagavad Gita 9:10, the Lord therefore says, Maya dakshena prakriti, suyate satcharacharam. Material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and non-moving beings, unmoving beings. The Supreme Lord casts his glance over material nature, energy, and this glass agitates the three modes of nature. Creation then takes place. The conclusion is that nature is not the cause of the material manifestation. The Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. So the text again. Yatanavasyabra tamak prakasha bhavanti bhupana bhavant tenukramat evam pare brahmani shaktayas pamu rajastamak sattva iti pravaha. My dear king, sometimes in the sky there are clouds, sometimes there is darkness, and sometimes there is illumination. All these take place consecutively. Similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, modes of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Sometimes they appear and sometimes they disappear. We have a Bhagavad Gita here. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Vristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddhartha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that now in the 14th chapter, Parambuya Pravakshami Gyanam Gyanam Uttamam Yajgat Muniya Sarve Pram Siddhimiti Parambuya Pravakshami Gyanam Gyanam Uttamam Yajgat Muniya Sarve Pram Siddhimiti Yata Pram Siddhimiti Yata. Supreme Personality of God had said, I shall now declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained supreme perfection. So material nature itself is constituted by the three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Of these modes, there is eternal time. And by a combination of these modes of material nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, our activity is called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial. We are suffering and enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I'm a businessman who worked very hard and with intelligence, and have amassed a great bank balance, and I am an enjoyer. Then say I've lost all my money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work, we suffer the results. This is called karma. So the material nature, sattvam rajas samayiti guna prakriti sambhava, vanadi mahavaho dehe dehinam avaya. That we're living in the three modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, ignorance. And therefore, in the 14th chapter, when Krishna says, Param Bhuya Pravakshami, Gyanam Gyanam Uttama, Yajgatvamuniya Sarve, Param Siddhimiti Ta, that this is the best of all knowledge. Why? Because knowledge is what's perceptible. Dhamma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha. Tat means that. So for those who know English, very easy to memorize that word tatvataha. Tat means that. And that which is tvam, tvat, tata, that which is perceivable by our experience. Our real faith is based on our experience. that if we don't have experience, we can't really say we have faith in that subject. Now the experience may be theoretical and it may be practical. In other words, theoretical is we should be able to see what we're talking about. But we can't see what we're talking about, it means we're blind. At least in that particular subject matter. So at least some theoretical knowledge should be there. Just like in the morning when the sun comes up, we may not see the sun directly, but we infer the presence of the sun through the sunlight. So if someone says, well, there's sunlight, but there's not sun, that's not within our realm of experience. Has anyone ever gone out on a day and all you saw was sunlight, there was no sun in the sky? Or did you ever see the sun, there was absolutely no sunlight? We were in complete darkness and there was a little ball. So the presence of sunlight, we infer the presence of the sun. Similarly, Prabhupada explains here, we don't find a potter's wheel making clay cups. We don't find the potter's wheel going out into the country, digging up the earth, getting the material for the cup, and then putting the material on itself, spinning it, and they're producing cups. We infer that there's a person who was moving the potter's wheel and had gathered the ingredients to make the pots. So with intelligence, we can infer the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we have this microphone, its energy, bhumir apanalo vayu kamunu buddha, it has all the ingredients that our body has in terms of energy. There's some energy here which is solid. There's some energy here which is liquid. There's some energy here which is fiery. There's some energy which has some movement. And there's ether, which everything fits into. But we don't find the microphone is utilizing mind, intelligence, and false ego. There's no upward movement for a microphone going to school to become a speaker or something. No, it's simply inert material energy, although Krishna says that this is my energy, that the energy comes from a person, just like energy of the sunlight comes from an energetic source, the sun. We don't find microphones manifesting or duplicating themselves very often. That there's a source of all energy. Whenever we find energy, we find there's an energetic, otherwise where the energy comes. So here it says material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. But that's not for the microphone. That's for our consciousness. Material nature is the gross elements are manifested from the false ego in terms of the energies, the passion, activity, goodness, the demigods. So the material nature takes that one energy called Brahman, and it creates different varieties of material energy from it, which manifests Brahman to different degrees. When pure goodness, Brahman will be perceived as the energy coming from Krishna, illuminating energy. The most visible part of that energy is the sun. But when it becomes transformed by the three modes of material nature, then it manifests itself as gross energy, gross material energy, dull material energy, energy, prana, and different types of energy which move the material nature, and goodness which illuminates our consciousness. Therefore, that's within our realm of experience. And when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Denos Vinita Dehe Komaram Yovanam Jara Tata Dahantara Praptira Diryas Tatra Namuyati. That may be within the realm of a human being's experience, that our bodies are changing, but we ourselves are not changing. Although because we're influenced by other modes of material nature besides goodness, because that Brahman is perceived when one is completely absorbed in spiritual activities, Mam Chayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate, Sagunan Samatityayatam Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. When one is engaged in full devotional service and failing in all circumstances, one at once transcends the material modes and comes to the level of Brahman. So therefore one can see how everything is a transformation of Brahman. Everything is actually spiritual. Ekadesha Stita Yagya Doshna Vishtrasimyata Rasha Brahmana Shaktis Tedam Akilam Jagat. It is not that one doesn't see the variety. In other words, solid, so-called solid matter, which is more solid than water. Nothing is really very solid in material nature. Otherwise, how can something solid be changing all the time? It just says there are different varieties of how change goes on. In the mode of ignorance, change goes on more slowly. In the mode of passion, change goes on relatively quicker. And the mode of goodness, change is relatively quite slow. And in pure goodness, there is no change. So those who are in higher consciousness, they can see change going on in the different layers of material existence. But they know it's only one energy working, Brahman, in its different varieties. So the material nature consists of the three modes. So Krishna, along with his lance, injects the material nature with three modes. And that material nature is under the control of time, kala. So Krishna is the witness of all our activities, and he knows when to give us the particular reaction toward the modes of material nature. In sattva, the reaction is illumination, relatively peace. In passion, there's great desire, hankering, longing. And in the material mode of ignorance, there's inertia. So generally the tendency is, left to itself, material nature goes towards inertia. Without education, then passion, whatever energy we have, because we have to have some energy, or else we wouldn't be able to do anything. Left to itself, passion usually, without knowledge, passion turns into ignorance. And with knowledge, passion can turn into goodness, or pure goodness, if it's transcendental knowledge. So according to our hearing, what we're hearing, which will depend upon who we're associating with, because everyone we associate with will have a different realm of experience. And therefore the vibration that they put out will carry that experience with them. One cannot have little experience and carry a vibration conveying a lot of experience. It was probably once the devotee went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I have so many problems. I have a big, big problem. I'm a little devotee, but I have a big, big problem. So Prabhupada said, how can a little devotee have a big problem? If you're a little devotee, you have little problems. So, as Prabhupada was saying to Brahmatirtha, Barb Cohen, which is in perfect questions, perfect answers, that if you're a big fire, then whatever you put into that fire will be digested, will be burnt up. Whereas Krishna says, Yitai damso samridhir gunair, Bhasmat sakrute arjuna, ganagni sarvakarmani, Bhasmat sakrute tata. As the blazing fire turns to ashes, all that's put into it. So there's the fire of transcendental knowledge, burn to ashes all the accumulated reactions of our previous activities. So the material world is based primarily upon ignorance. What is that ignorance? Ignorance of Krishna, that's all. Very simple. Ignorance that there's actually a person behind this cosmic manifestation. He may not be directly involved in every single detail of the cosmic manifestation. In other words, material nature, he delegates some power to also. Power especially to delude us. But it is not that he's not present. Otherwise, ekopya so jagatam jagat koti. That he's present not only in every atom, but he's present in between the atoms as well. And he's also Savasi Chaham Riddhi Sanavishto Atak Smritir Gyanam Aponam Cha. He's also in our heart as a super soul. He's giving everyone remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So everyone is actually praying to Krishna. My dear Krishna, how can I get this? Or how can I avoid that? Now, the material world consists of passion, hankering, and lamentation. So that means everything in the material world can only be a reflection of our original consciousness. So in this mode of passion, you add this jiva soul's consciousness, you add the mode of passion, then he hankers for material things. And if you add ignorance, he laments that he can't get what he wanted, or he got something he didn't want. So you take away the material mode of ignorance and passion, then people will hanker for Krishna, and they'll lament that they don't have him eternally. So hankering and lamenting are natural states of consciousness of the living entity. And goodness may be there. Well, goodness in the spiritual world is that the steady factor is Krishna. Whether you're hankering for Krishna or lamenting that you don't have him or he's present, the steady factor is Krishna. That's real knowledge. Gyanam, Gyanam, Gayam, Gamya, Riddhi Sarvasya. I'm the light in all luminous objects. I'm beyond the darkness of matter. I'm knowledge. I'm the object of knowledge. I'm the goal of knowledge. I'm situated in everyone's heart. So everything is there in the material world except for Krishna. Well, everything, Krishna is here. Everything's there in our consciousness except for Krishna. And when Krishna is in our consciousness, then the same activities will go on, but in Krishna consciousness, that's all. In knowledge, in pure knowledge, ultimately. But now we have faith in material nature. Usually the faith is in goodness or in passion or ignorance. If Arjuna asks in the 17th chapter, that Vanarupas, oh, actually, that's not the first one. Arjuna, after hearing practically the whole Bhagavad Gita, now he asks Krishna, Ye Shastra Vidim Utsrija Vartate Kamakarada, Sasidim Avapnoti Nasukam Napram Gidim. Wrong one. Wrong. Utsrija. There is an Utrija. Ye Shastra Vidim Utsrija Vartate Kamakarada. No. Ye Shastra Vidim Utsrija Yirante Sharianvita. Hesham Nishtu Taka Krishna Sattamaho Rajastamaha. So those Ye Shastra Vidim Utsrija, those who give up Shastra. Now we may think, people think Shastra is some speculation put forward by some old people, and they call it Shastra. That's not Shastra. Shastra is absolute truth. Now, how can we say it's absolute truth? Because it's a science. Shastra actually means real science. And what do we mean by real science? It's true, past, present, and future. Now, every time Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't change the philosophy. And he's been doing it since time immemorial, which means that what he's describing is eternal. And it's perceivable as eternal for those on the eternal platform. and therefore Shastra we will be perceived as reality, not just simply some words. But for those conditioned by material nature, that's not possible to see reality because they're conditioned. And what is that conditioning? Ultimately, it's because they've rejected Krishna. And therefore, they've acquired a false Krishna material nature. After hearing about the glories of who? The glories of usually someone who's bigger and better at something that we're interested in getting for ourselves. In other words, someone is seen as our supreme example in some field. Because of material nature, especially in Kali Yuga, people have so many desires. They have desire for beauty, for strength, for knowledge, sometimes for renunciation, for fame, for wealth, and therefore they have different Mahatmas. And every Mahatma disconnected from Krishna is in one of these modes of material nature. There's Mahatmas for beauty and ignorance, piercing your tongue with a pearl, whatever. There's beauty and passion, and there's beauty and goodness also. So everyone is choosing some Mahatma, some example of perfection or nearing perfection in one of these six opulences, and therefore Tarka Pratishta Shrutiya Vibhina Sabari Sharyasana Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam Mahajno Yena Katasapanta. Everyone's debating who is actually powerful, who is beautiful. That's why they have beauty contests. That's why they have elections. Because everyone has a different opinion according to the mode of nature they're under. And every aspect of beauty, knowledge, fame, renunciation, wealth, etc., strength. Tarka Shutiya Vibhina. And everyone has their authoritative book that they purchase on Amazon that will explain which is the perfection of these different opulences. And there are authorities in every one of these perfections. Therefore, watching even a tennis game, even a chess match, there'll be commentators explaining who's the best, who's the perfection of this particular activity, why. But Tarka Pratishta Shutiya Vibhina Nasabari Shariyasyana Bina Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam. But actual perfection in any field is hidden in the heart of the person who is the most experienced in that field. Those who are completely absorbed to become expert at some field, either in this lifetime or previous lifetime, you must have practiced a lot under authorities who practice even more than you did. So in every field, there's some activity, there's some authority. They're called Mahatmas, a great soul in that field. But as far as Dharma goes, well, I guess that's people's religion. Everyone has, they may reject our Shastra, but they have some Shastra they're following, some book they're following, some authority they're following. And therefore, Mahajano Yena Katasapanta, and someone will follow that authority. They'll find out how to pierce that pearl through their nose, their ears, through their eyelids, because that's their authority. That's what they see as perfection. And they surround themselves with others who have a similar desire. And therefore they hear from them the glories of that particular activity, the glories of that movie, the glories of something. And then they develop desire. I want to be happy, I'm hankering for happiness, I'm lamenting, I'm not finding it, but this will satisfy me, so let me try it out. Let me chew it. So they go to the movie, They may have stayed awake, they may have enjoyed it, give it 5 stars, but then they can't watch it perpetually, eternally, and get the same taste. Punas charvata charvanana. Their senses have been satisfied temporarily, their mind especially, but then they find it same thing. Punas charvata charvana, again and again. That's the nature of passion and ignorance. You chew it for some time, and then it becomes tasteless, becomes hackneyed. The real nature of the material energy is revealed because your hankering has been resolved, and therefore you feel good. I'm not hankering. But then you enter into the stage of lamentation, that this is not really satisfying my hankering anymore. And therefore you lament, why am I wasting my time with this? I'm not getting the same inspiration from this particular activity anymore. Therefore, in the mode of ignorance, there's Mahatmas, those Hiranyakashipu, Ravana. They're Mahatmas. They had hundreds of thousands of followers. Everyone wanted to become a Ravana. All their followers wanted to become a Ravana. They all wanted to become a Hiranyakashipu, or someone similar to that. And they were studying under him, associating with him, serving him, following his instructions, so they could also get 10 heads in the future and do an austerity for 120,000 years, 120 years of the demigods. In the mode of passion, you have the Bill Gates, you have the Musk, whatever his first name is. Billionaires, people with huge amounts of money, working hard to get more money, and buying everything for their sense gratification. And then in the mode of goodness, you have the conservationists, the philanthropists, and they're all chewing the material nature and the different modes of material nature, trying to get some satisfaction out of it, looking actually for Krishna, but chewing just his external energy. So, the material nature, as it says here, consists of 3 modes and works under eternal time. Those who are trying to enjoy the material nature in passion, generally speaking, if they don't follow the instructions of the Vedas, how to do that, or even in ignorance, then they go downwards. And even those in the mode of goodness, so-called goodness, which is quite rare nowadays in Kali Yuga, even those in so-called goodness, if they don't follow the Vedas in their activities, then they go downward into passion and ignorance eventually. So we can see, because there's no real knowledge of how everything should be utilized in Krishna's service, otherwise you get brought down in the modes, lower and lower modes. If you don't accept God, you don't even accept his authority, you don't follow any of his instructions, then you go deeper into the modes, downward in the modes of material nature. And as soon as one starts at least accepting his instructions, just like there are 3 gunas, there are also 4 modes, there are 4 different divisions of human society. Chaturavanya Mayashi Stam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So you may accept the instructions, you don't even know who gave them, but at least you're following them. And who's ever giving you those instructions in the Vedas, they're a representative of Krishna. So you're following a representative of Krishna. And therefore you'll go upwards. Even Hiranyakashipu, he went upwards by performing austerity. He wasn't doing it on behalf of Vishnu, but he got the result. Even Prahlad Maharaj was born from him because he was chanting, he was thinking about Vishnu. Narada Muni and Parvati Muni were chanting at the top of their lungs when he was doing austerity, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And therefore he couldn't help constantly doing that austerity and hearing these two sages chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya in the form of birds. So when he went home, he figured it's not a very good day for austerity. He goes, I can't get this out of my mind. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he decided, all right, let's go home. We'll take a break for a day and then come back later. So he couldn't get it out of his mind, so he decided to enjoy it with his wife that night. And while he was enjoying, he was still hearing Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And therefore he was in a kind of Krishna consciousness during the time of conception. And therefore Prahlad Maharaj was born. Now he was a demon. He had no desire to serve Vishnu in any way, but still somehow or another, by good association, he was following Krishna's directions and he became purified. And he produced a Krishna conscious child. So that's how it works. According to our association, we're going to get an effect. Now, generally, people like to associate with people in the similar mode of material nature. People who go to a bar don't go to hear about Krishna. They don't expect a Krishna book reading in the bar. And those who go to Krishna book class reading Krishna book don't expect to serve beer at such gathering. Usually they used to serve milk. So people are attracted to hear according to their association. They're inclined to associate with people under certain modes that they want to hear about. Glories of how to mix alcohol drinks together, produce different intoxicating effects. Even that's one of the 64 arts, by the way. How to mix together different intoxications to produce different effects. Because in the spiritual world, I mean, I don't think Krishna Balaram are, well, for the Kshatriyas, there's different types of intoxications that they take. Fermented rice produces type of alcoholic beverage that the Yadavas, they took after the sacrificial ceremony, and they got intoxicated, and apparently they killed each other. So that's one of the 64 arts. Everything is there. Even in the spiritual world, the gopis and Krishna, they get intoxicated sometimes. Their intoxication is not material, it's spiritual. It's not that they forget Krishna when they're intoxicated, or Krishna forgets the gopis, but everything becomes distorted. Maybe Krishna looks even more beautiful than he usually does. The gopis look more beautiful. Balaram gets intoxicated. So everything's there. He drinks baruni. Therefore, taking too much honey is not recommended. When I was coming here, I declared some biscuits I had, and they asked me if I had any honey, because they didn't want me to get intoxicated. So therefore, under the three modes of material nature, and under the three modes of material nature, which consists of the three modes, and under the influence of time, different activities called karma come into being. So according to who we're associating with now, in the future, there'll be some result, especially when hearing from them. But of course, hearing is not the only thing. Example is more powerful than even speaking. Because this body we have now is a result of what we were thinking about in the past, what we were hearing about in the past, and therefore what we put into practice, what we desire, is also a product of the three modes, or transcendental modes, if we're hearing transcendentally. And our body turns transcendental, it becomes spiritual. That is, it's no longer under the influence of material nature, it's completely under Krishna's influence. In the three modes of material nature, we can only be empowered so much to do something. And in transcendental, under Krishna's control, there's no limit to what we can do, what Krishna wants us to do. What Krishna wants to do, because he's actually doing everything. We're still desiring, even when we become a perfect devotee under Krishna's direction, But Krishna takes into account our desire too. It's not that we stop desiring. When Krishna takes complete control of our activities, it's not that we stop desiring, but we only desire for benefit of all living entities and for Krishna, in devotional service, that's all. And therefore, we become even more powerful because Krishna, he doesn't do things that generally outside of what his pure devotees are desiring. As we become an instrument for Krishna, as his body becomes an instrument for Krishna, therefore Krishna also becomes, in one sense, an instrument for the devotees' desires. It's not that when Krishna takes charge, then we become a robot. We're just watching everything happen. It doesn't happen like that. But what happens is that we become more desirous of pleasing Krishna and pleasing his servants, and therefore Krishna takes that into account, and he empowers the devotee even more to spread Krishna consciousness. Is Krishna's desire and the real desire of the devotees, because that's the real interest of every living entity, to revive their relation with Krishna. Still, karma is there, because we're not perfect. And for the perfect one who's not perfect, therefore Krishna arranges activities in such a way as to inspire us to get out of the material energy into Krishna consciousness, to take shelter of Krishna. Therefore, even for the Pandavas and for the Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, apparently they were also under the modes of material, suffering from the modes of material nature. Otherwise, why would they fed poison? Why would they put into a house of burning lac? A house made of lac would burn. Why would they put into the forest? The man-eater came to devour them. Apparently, they're also getting reactions for their previous activity. But actually, they're not under the material modes. Material nature is Krishna, is not under the modes. But Krishna arranges it in such a way is that their external activities perform activities just like a common person's activities. Uncommon for this age, but in Dwapara Yuga, their activities were duplicated by other great Kshatriyas. Still, they show us how, when put into these circumstances, one has to rely upon Krishna. And therefore, by relying upon Krishna in difficulty, they became more and more Krishna conscious. And therefore, they prayed to be put into more difficulty. Now, we generally don't do that because we're not on the level of the Pandavas. We pray, please, Krishna, get rid of this difficulty. Not, dear Krishna, please let me take shelter of you and forget about, that way we'll forget about these difficulties. But we pray, Krishna, let me take shelter of you to get rid of these difficulties. But they never prayed like that. They simply remained as an instrument for Krishna, and they were happy whatever came or whatever came to them. They were happy because when they were in difficulty, they prayed to Krishna even more intently for their service to Krishna, to remain fixed in their service. Therefore, the greater the difficulty, the greater their intensity of desiring to please Krishna, the more they made advancement in Krishna consciousness, apparently. And therefore, Queen Kunti said that Vishan Mahagne Purusharu Darshana, and then she said, Vipadak Shantu Chakshasvat Tatprat Tatra Jagat Kuro Bhavatad Darshanam Nyasyat Apana Bhavadarshana. I want to see these calamities again and again. We all want to see them, the Pandavas. Because whenever there's a calamity, you come and help us. And therefore, by becoming more and more conscious of you, we're not going to see repeated birth and death. Because Krishna was always in our heart. But to show us how we have to rely upon Krishna, and then Krishna will come to help us if we ask him to. Now for us, if there's everything going fine, we think, well, Krishna already came. He gave me whatever I wanted. And I have nothing to desire from Krishna anymore. And therefore we forget Krishna. And therefore Queen Kunti said, Janvaishvara Shruti Shrivira Edamanak Edamanak Mudak Naivahat Yavadatum Vai, Kwamakinchana Gochara. The real problem in material existence is not the difficulties we're facing, it's our lack of Krishna consciousness to overcome those difficulties, become aloof from them, and enter into the realm of transcendental consciousness, where these difficulties don't make any difference to us anymore. The real problem is we think I can arrange that God or myself, I can arrange the material world, I can get what I want. I can get a nice birth in a wonderful country with all material facilities. I can get all the material money I need, all the material opulence I need. I can get high education so people think I'm learned. Or I can get personal influence, either through beauty or influence others. They think I'm the goal, I'm the example for others to follow. I can manifest some opulence, which will give me some influence in some field. The problem with that is not the opulence, it's not the beauty or the wealth. The problem is we don't use it for Krishna. The problem is that we become more and more desirous to get more of it. And therefore, because we become puffed up, our ego becomes inflated, false ego becomes inflated by this material opulence, and we think we're on top, we become God. Therefore, we don't chant to God, we don't rely upon God, we don't pray to Krishna. It's to get us out of this illusion. If anything, we're praying to Krishna to put us more in illusion, and Krishna will reciprocate. Oh, you want more wealth? You want to become best in this field? You want to become more and more expert at this field? Sure, I'll give you the intelligence. You deserve it. You're going through so much austerity. Your mind has been focused on this thing. And therefore, because you just don't want wealth or beauty, you're focused on it. So therefore, I'll give you more and more intelligence how to get it. Up to the point you can stand on your toes for 120 years, so you can become immortal, do the impossible. Because everyone's trying to do the impossible here. Why not give you an opportunity to get 100 benedictions from Brahma and think yourself to become immortal? Why become the world chess champion? Or you can become immortal. It's even greater. You can defeat all your enemies. You become God, Brahman. Therefore, everyone is under the influence of Kala, time, the material reactions are coming about. But for the devotee, Krishna is discouraging us from hankering for something which will be ultimately not satisfying. It won't bring us closer to Krishna. It'll give us our material enjoyment, perhaps, and Krishna might allow that, and see its uselessness. That ultimately the hankering which is painful, will lead to another kind of suffering, lamentation, that this is actually not satisfying. But if we're engaged in sadhana bhakti and devotional service, then we will realize that the reason why I'm not happy hankering, the reason why I'm not happy suffering by lamentation is because there's no Krishna there. Therefore, eventually we may, if we're hankering, relying upon Krishna, desiring Krishna to give me these things, then the result is that ultimately we'll give them up because we'll see that actually without Krishna, these things are meaningless. Therefore, even in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumara is chanting his mantra and going from one part of the material universe to the next, even through the material coverings, even into Brahman, even to Mahashiva Loka. But he's not satisfied because he doesn't have his relationship with Gopal, his worshipful deity. So Gopal is giving him these opportunities for higher and higher consciousness, getting free from this material consciousness, but he's still not satisfied until finally he gets to Goloka Vrindavan, and he revives completely his relation with Gopal without any material desire, without any material conception, just endless, increasing desire to love Gopal and to be loved by him. So that's what everyone is really looking for. They're just thinking that Gopal is just, he's there and there's so many other things that might be as good as Gopal. So they finally realize that they can't love anyone more than they can love Gopal, and they can't be loved by anyone more than they can be loved by Gopal. And that's perfection of life. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes. Oh, there's more. Ubudrastanamanacha, Bharata Bhakta Maheshwara, Paramatmiti Chatyuto, Dehesmini Purushapara. That's the 13th chapter. In this body, he's the Upadrasta, he's the overseeing permitter. And it was known as this, he was the 13th. In this body there is another transcendental enjoyer, so that's one of his functions. He's the enjoyer. Who's the Lord? He's the Lord. He's the control of everything. This supreme proprietor, he owns everything. Who exists as the overseer permitter, and is known as the super soul. That's chapter 13, verse 23.
So my question is, so that's also reference. Also the Lord. I was, I guess, I'm not well, what stage stop functioning as Prahladnanda? Is there like a difference?
No, Parama is Krishna.
Not
Yeah, Krishna working as Vishnu. Sorry, Bhutani. Sarta Buddha Siddhamyo Mam Bhajan Ekatata. Sarta Bhatmano Pisa Yogi Mayavaktate. One who sees the super soul in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 31. Such a yogi is worshipful service to the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul, one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Paramatma and Krishna are exactly the same. No difference between them. This Krishna acts as Paramatma, appears as Paramatma. So, but he's Krishna. In other words, here in the spiritual world, here, when Krishna was dancing with the gopis, then every Krishna was a little different, according to the nature of the gopi who's dancing with, or the queens. And Krishna reciprocates with his devotees also. He manifests himself in different ways. So Krishna, for those who are in the material nature, trying to lord it all the material nature themselves, they have a similar super soul in their heart, filling their desires. But when one becomes a devotee, then Krishna will reciprocate their desires. Just like we can think of Krishna within the heart now, so therefore super souls apparently become Krishna. But he was always there as Krishna. It just, Krishna has the ability to reciprocate immediately. Oh, it's Krishna. Just like just dressed differently. Just like the judge, he may be sitting there in the heart of the bed. He call him your honor. When he goes home as the same judge, he just puts on his wife and children, bring his robe, and they call him John. Same person, he just looks different. He does different things. Yeah.
Love is now service increases, the love reciprocation increases. There's a difference.
Well, once we start serving Krishna, then we understand Paramatma is Krishna. But that it's not. We're not serving Narayan. We're serving Krishna, generally speaking. But someone may have a relation with Narayan. And the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, when we start serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his mission, then generally speaking, we'll remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his pastimes, or through him, then we'll remember Krishna's pastimes, or we may remember all the other incarnations, Yamadi, Mortal, Kalami, but we'll know it's Krishna.
Benefits.
Yeah, I mean, just he was associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he understood Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was and Lord Ramachandra, his worshipful deity, were non-different. He didn't change his love for Lord Ramachandra, and he didn't change his love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Lord Ramachandra. Even Jambhavan, when he fought against Krishna, and he realized, this person I'm fighting against, he must be my worshipful Lord. No one could defeat me. Only my worshipful Lord, Lord Ramachandra. Therefore, Krishna could be Ramachandra, he could be Krishna. Because according to his associates, relate to him. Yes. Did you have a oh, pleasure? It's good, yeah. That's without fear we won't surrender. Well, just like a little child is being attacked by a bird and runs to his mother to take shelter. So it increases his love for his mother, fear of the bird. So is that bad? His love for his mother is increased because some of the mother will be very happy to give protection to the child. So Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter, text number 13 to 8, in the very end of the purport, 13 to 8 to 13, as far as birth, exactly. One should try to understand the distress except for birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions of it. That's not it either. Oh, here. Yes. Oh. There are descriptions of various Vedic religions of birth. Srimad Bhagavatam, the birth of the unborn, shall stay in the womb of the mother, suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful, because we forget how much distress we have in the womb of the mother. We do not take solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, the time of death, there are all kinds of suffering. They're also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. They should be discussed. As far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased. No one wants to become old. There's no avoiding this. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the stresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there's no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. So without fear of these things, we won't make any advance. We think everything's great. You go to a nice climate, the shot is perfect. What's that? No, love is there in every step. Even love is there because without love we won't surrender. We won't turn to Krishna. When we turn to Krishna, then our natural love will awaken. We don't have real love outside of our becoming. The art of Krishna consciousness is first to focus one's attention and then give one's love to Krishna. So without turning to Krishna, there's no question of love. We have love, but now we have love in material energy. But we always have love. Even the tigers have love. Every living entity has love because that's our nature. But now we're loving the material nature. But when we turn to Krishna, then our natural love, our original love, becomes fully manifest. Pure love for Krishna becomes manifested. So we turn to Krishna and love begins. When we begin to perform devotional service, then our actual pure love for Krishna will start manifesting itself. So as Bhishma Dev says, love actually means love for Krishna. Pure love. love in the material nature is not love because the material nature doesn't reciprocate with us. Even it's Krishna who's giving us the results. We don't recognize them. So that's called illusion. We think the material nature is reciprocating with us, but actually it's Krishna. Because we've forgotten, or we get from the material nature, we don't get anything of any value. Doesn't matter what, without Krishna, it's useless for our action. What we really want, which is love, happiness. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. There's a question online. The question.
Question. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, Maharaj, so there's a question online. In this verse, it is said similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the mode of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Is not God free from these modes? Can you please explain this?
Say that again.
In this verse, it is said, similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the modes of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Is not God free from these modes? Can you please explain this?
Say that. It doesn't say that Krishna is under, it says the exact opposite. Krishna is not under his material manifestation. Now, this is in the absolute truth right now, whether we know it or not. So this is a manifestation of also the absolute truth, how we work. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains about the modes, it's part of the absolute truth, not outside of it. So therefore, in the material world, in goodness, illumination occurs, compassion, then hankering occurs, intense desire, and in ignorance, there's inertia, nothing going on. So that's part of the truth. It's manifested this illusory world for conditioned souls, not outside. Just like in this, we're here in Auckland. So in Auckland, we have schools, educational facilities. We also have prisons, not outside the government. It's also part of it, but it's for people of a certain mentality or doing certain activities. They go to the prison, others go to the educational institution. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Jai.